Hi and welcome to this video on the Smart Morph feature found in Yamaha's version 2.5 of the MODX and the latest version of the Montage. This is a sound that I came up with, one of the first sounds I programmed, and hopefully I can show you how easy it'll be for you to come up with new or hybrid FM sounds that just a few years ago would have taken hours to program and an extensive knowledge of FM synthesis to produce. I remember buying loads of books back in the day to learn FM programming, and 9 times out of 10 you'd end up typing values into the DX7 screen manually and tweaking the sounds a little bit to your liking, but those days are gone. The boffins at Yamaha have been working overtime to come up with Smart Morph. Now, don't think that Smart Morph is some sort of patch layering ability. It isn't. What it does is look at the makeup of up to 8 FM patches and combine them in a way that you can control. So the end result is a single FMX patch created by interpolating between the original FM sounds. And when you save it away, you can create multiple variations of the patch without the original sounds being loaded up. Now, just stop for a second and think of the maths involved in that. Stop, that's long enough. Let's have a look at it in action. I've decided to create a variation on the famous lately bass sound, originally found on the TX-81Z. This patch has been heard on countless records, and to tweak the sound to taste on the original unit without the help of software editors would have been a bit of an undertaking, but not if you have a MODX or a Montage. So let's get cracking. So the first step in creating your own Smart Morph is to call up category search, call up init, and let's select normal FMX and hit enter. The next step is simply to select Smart Morph and you'll be taken directly to this page. So let's select the edit tab, and the mistake that I made the first time around was assigning a sound to the first slot in slot 1. Don't do this. This is the part that ends up hosting your newly created patch. So instead you load a sound into any of the boxes with crosses on them, numbered from 1 to 16. So I'm going to select box 9, it doesn't really matter which one. And I'm going to now look for the lately bass. So it's taken me to an FM section. I'm going to select bass and scroll down 1 to select lately bass and hit the enter key. You can now audition this sound on your keyboard. And there's the lately bass sound. So now I'm going to select a similar but sufficiently different sound to load into slot 16. Again, it doesn't really matter which slot you load it into. I don't want to select, say, a pad sound because that'll take me in a different sonic direction. So I'm going to go into the guitar section and select a guitar sound because it's of sort of a similar family. So I'm going to hit FM muted electric guitar and enter. And now, again, I can audition that sound. So we now have bass synth selected in slot 9 and guitar synth in... Well, actually, that's a good point. It gives me it illustrates the point I can show you. If you actually want to look at the names, change the display from type, which is sort of a generic type description of the sound, to the name. So there we see lately bass and FM mute electric guitar. Now, obviously, you can do this with up to 8 different sounds, but what I'm about to show you will keep it simple while showing you the principles involved. Sticking to 2 or 3 source patches will also yield more musically useful sounds, but if you're into more experimental or atonal sounds, then the more the merrier, you go for it. Now, the manual isn't exactly clear what the Analyze button does, but by selecting one of the boxes you can see you're presented with lots of options, but I'm going to keep it simple, as I said, and I'm just going to hit the Learn button in the bottom right hand corner. The ETA box will give you a countdown as the MODX does its machine learning thing and does all the calculations needed to combine your patches into a single FMX patch, with the possibility of dozens of variations within it. What this effectively means is that your MODX is smarter than you. That's a bit of a depressing thought, isn't it? Anyway, play your keyboard now and you'll get the original sine wave sound, but as soon as you touch the screen, you'll hear the resulting patch. In one corner is patch number 1, and in the other corner is your other patch. And as you move the cursor, so you're moving into different sonic territory, you're sort of combining elements of the two sounds. Some areas will be more musically useful than others. So there's lately bass, here's the guitar sound, and we can gradually combine the two together. So once you've found that sweet spot, leave the morph at that position, and if you want, you can save the performance away. Here are a few tips. If you're working with two sounds like this, and if they're in different octaves, such as the bass patch and a guitar patch, there'll be an area in the middle somewhere where the keyboard has to decide what octave you're in. It doesn't make much sense to morph the fundamental pitch, so you'll find that the octave will jump somewhere in the middle area. So if you choose two sounds in the same sort of octave range, then the transposition will be much smoother than this, as only the harmonic frequencies will be morphing. Also, I believe that, for want of a better word, some of the more basic FM sounds, such as the original voices from the DX7, will lend themselves better to this type of process and probably give you more musical results. So as I said, if you found a sweet spot, save it away. However, if you hit Learn Again, as I've just done off screen, you'll see that it creates a new selection of values. So let's do that. And in fact, this is where the Analyze button, if you leave it on Analyze, you can actually see some of the parameters that are being randomized as well. So if we look at this, it's adjusting the curve of operator 4 and operator 6. So again, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to leave that set as it is and hit Learn. And so it goes through, it's doing its machine learning thing, it's working it out, and you'll see that this time when it comes up, it's adjusted the coarse value of operator 4 and the coarse value of operator 3, and the curve, the high curve of operator 4. Let's hit Learn Again. The results are essentially going to be similar, but this time you see it's adjusted operator 8, the operator 8 rather, the coarse value of operator 8, and the coarse value of operator 4. So you will get subtly different results each time you do it. So as they used to say on Blue Peter here in the UK, let's look at one I prepared earlier. So I've saved away two variations of this patch, one that I've called Running Late. This is closer to the original lately bass sound, and another patch that I've called Running Later, which has all the bass characteristics of lately bass, but sort of morphed with the guitar characteristics of the plucked electric guitar sound. Now it's worth noting that you definitely can delete the original parts that we use in the creation and still morph between them. So if you want to keep things neat and tidy and you want to leave your other slots free, if you go to the Smart Morph button and you go to Job, you can actually select delete parts 9 to 16. I'll do so, and we'll go back. So I'll exit from here. And you'll see that those parts have disappeared, but the part itself, the newly created part, is still there, and you can still morph between the various regions. That's a really awesome facility. And again, like I say, the maths involved must be huge in that. So before you save your sound away, you might want to just tweak a few parameters using the real-time controls up here in the top left. Make sure I tend to make sure the second row is selected, and you can adjust the decay time. And the release time and the amount of reverb, and save that away. I also put a few internal effects on this particular sound. So if we go and select Edit, we can see what I've done by going to Effects, and you'll see that I put a slight chorus sound on the bass sound, which in turn is feeding into a compressor to give it that more sort of punchy feel. And I turn the reverb down because there's a little bit too much reverb on the way that Yamaha initialized the patches. So when you're creating your sound, don't forget to put the icing on the cake, put a few effects on, and make sure you tweak the sound. If you're creating a pad sound, for example, you can easily adjust the attack of the sound, the fade in and the release of the sound before you save it away. In fact, let's look at creating a pad sound on another video. So hopefully you've seen that it's quite easy to create your own patches using Smart Morph, and that you can create plenty of variations just with 2 simple sounds. But you might want to, during say mid-performance, adjust those sounds, and you can do that by using the super knob. So let's have a play with that. Let's select Smart Morph, and you'll see that there's a super knob section just underneath Analyze, and there's a line drawn across the screen which represents the start point and the end point of the super knob. Now I can see where I've saved the sound away with the little blue dot, so I want that to be my start position. So I'm going to hit the start, either of those 2 values, and move the cursor until it lines up with my beginning, and then I'm going to hit end and choose sort of a random point where I want the morph to end. So let's audition that now. By holding down on the screen, I can, that's my original sound. It's getting a bit of tonal there. That's okay though. Yeah, I think that end sounds quite good actually. And then all we need to do is to assign it to the super knob, is to switch super knob on, and it will now, when we rotate the super knob, come up with those variations in between. You can of course animate the super knob, and if you're not sure how to do that, I'll look at that in the pad video, because that might be useful, for example during a long sustained sound, to have sort of random values popping in and out. So we'll look at that in depth in another video. So I hope that illustrates how useful and how powerful Smart Morph can be. In a short period of time I've come up with some, 2 variations there, very usable, of the lately bass patch. Let's have a look at a couple of other sounds that I've come up with. I played overtones earlier. Glockophone is a combination of 3 component parts. And phase string is quite a nice pad sound. But again, bear in mind that's an FM sound, not sort of not layered virtual analog, or not a sample. That's FM. So we'll have a look at creating a pad. That, again, it's only using 2 components. We'll have a look at creating a pad in another video to keep this one relatively short. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.